Hello, and welcome to the NFPA LiNK YouTube channel. This page is dedicated to answering key questions you have related to electrical and life safety. With easy-to-use digital access to NFPA codes and standards, NFPA LiNK is your window to productivity. Today, we've been asked to address residential garage electrical requirements using the 2023 NEC. So from my desktop in LiNK, I'm going to navigate to the 2023 National Electrical Code, or NEC, and jump into Article 210. So initially, I want to navigate to 210.52 so we can determine what receptacles need to be installed. So this is 210.52 dwelling unit receptacle outlets. And the parent text states that this section provides requirements for 125 volt, 15 or 20 amp receptacle outlets. And with that, if we scroll down to G in this section, it covers basements, garages, and accessory buildings. So initially it states for 1 and 2 family dwellings and multifamily dwellings, at least one receptacle outlet shall be installed in the areas specified in 210.52 G1 through G3. These receptacles shall be in addition to receptacles required for specific equipment. And then we see a highlighted last sentence here, which is new to the 2023 NEC, that states, receptacles supplying only permanently installed premises security system shall not be considered as meeting these requirements. So for example, if we had a basement where there's a security system, or even a garage where there's a security system installed, and there's a receptacle that's being installed there specific to that equipment, not intended to be used for anything else, that receptacle can't be counted as the required receptacle. So that's just a change that was made for the 2023 NEC. Sub-item 1 here covers garages. So it states in each attached garage or in each detached garage with electric power. So it doesn't matter if the garage is attached or detached with electric power, this is what we have to do. And it states at least one receptacle outlet shall be installed in each vehicle bay. So if it's a single car garage, we just need one. If it's a 2-car garage, we need 2, and so forth. And that receptacle cannot be installed more than 5.5 feet above the floor to be counted for this particular receptacle. So obviously that means it needs to be accessible from the floor level so somebody can utilize it. There's an exception to this that states garage spaces not attached to an individual dwelling unit of a multifamily dwelling shall not require a receptacle outlet in each vehicle bay. So for example, maybe we have a 6-unit multifamily condo building that has a 6-car detached garage where there's a bay for each person to put their car in. And that's all just one big open area. They just have different garage doors to access their portions. Those specific bays don't have to have a receptacle for every single bay in that particular case, because that garage is it's part of a multifamily dwelling and it's not attached to the actual dwelling units. So that gives us our required receptacles. So basically we have to have one receptacle per bay. If we move into 210.11, so we'll scroll over here, and that tells us our branch circuits required. So if we go down into 210.11C4, that section is titled Garage Branch Circuits. So in addition to the number of branch circuits required by other parts of this section, which was covering kitchen or small appliance branch circuits, laundry branch circuits, and bathrooms, so in addition to those, at least one 120 volt, 20 amp branch circuit shall be installed to supply receptacle outlets, including those required by 210.52 G1, which is the section we were just in, for attached garages and detached garages with electric power. So in this case, it's stating it has to be a 20 amp circuit. And then the last sentence here says this circuit shall have no other outlets. Okay, so in this particular case, you have to have a 20 amp dedicated circuit that's feeding those receptacle outlets that are required in 210.52 G1. Okay, new part to this section for the 2023 NEC is this middle section that's highlighted, Additional branch circuits rated 15 amps or greater shall be permitted to serve receptacle outlets other than those required in 210.52G1. So with that, those receptacles that are required by 210.52G1 to be placed in each bay, those have to go in. That's the bottom line. Now, if we wanted to put a receptacle that's dedicated for a freezer or a refrigerator or something like that out in the garage, and it didn't require a 20 amp circuit for that particular piece of equipment, we could run a 15 amp circuit in that case out to the garage. So every circuit that goes to the garage doesn't have to be 20 amps, just that initial one that's required here in 210.11C4 to feed those receptacles that are required by 210.52G1. There's also an exception number 2 that's been added in the 2023 NEC that says where the 20 amp circuit supplies a single vehicle bay garage, outlets for other equipment within the same garage shall be permitted to be supplied in accordance with 210.23 B1 and B2. So there are other things that could be ran off of that 20 amp circuit in the case where you just had a single vehicle bay garage. Not all that common anymore, but you might see that in an application for like a multifamily building where they just give somebody a single garage. But typically in houses these days, we see at least 2-car garages. And then the last thing, we're going to move to 210.8 and go into ground fault circuit protection for these receptacles. So 210.8A covers dwelling units. It states all 125 and 250 volt receptacles installed in the following locations and supplied by branch circuits rated 150 volts or less to ground shall have ground fault circuit interrupter protection for personnel. And if we go down to item 2, we see garages have to have that, and also accessory buildings that have a floor located at or below grade level. So in that case, we have to have GFCI protection for those receptacles. And the one thing about that we have to think about is not just those 120 volt receptacles that were required by 210.52G. If there are other receptacles out there we use for other equipment, maybe an air compressor or thing of that nature that's running on a 240 volt receptacle, that would still have to be GFCI protected being in a garage. If we look at EV chargers, there's already a requirement in Article 625 that any EV charger that's cord and plug connected to a receptacle, that receptacle has to have GFCI protection as well. So that's covered there. But we just need to think about that with what we're putting in the garage and what's going to need to be GFCI protected. And then the last thing I want to jump back up to 210.8. look at is the final statement here. The GFCI has to be installed in a readily accessible location. So a lot of times we have a receptacle that's put in overhead for an overhead door operator. That's not where the GFCI can be located because it wouldn't be readily accessible at that point without a granite ladder. So we hope that provided some insight into residential garage electrical requirements using the 2023 NEC. For more info on how NFPA LiNK gives you the knowledge you need to get the job done right, please visit www.nfpa.org/link.